Now,
That way it saves some money.
that's right. Now, Jan, it depends on how much do you want to irrigate. It really gets down to the cost, you know, of the system. So we have to determine, do we want some of this naturalness that's there, which I think is very pretty, where you have a tee area and 3, 4, or 5 tees somewhere in this area. And then we just let it NAOAS, natural open space, Allen, kind of a la Troon and True North, right? Where you can maintain this grass, but they're native grasses, you know, that are indigenous to the area.
They're, you know, at times they'll have
That's what I
wildflowers.
love that.
See, I think that's a cost savings. I don't see any more acres than 80 acres. I don't, you know, of turf. I think that's.
That include the fairways and the
That's
roughs?
everything. That's the
80
roughs and the fairways, the tees and the greens. I think you're looking at 80 to 85 acres. You know, let's go 85, you know, but right there is what I see, Alan, because I think then you're gonna save some cost in the.
I think so too, and I think that property really lends itself to doing that.
Right.
You know, it doesn't have to be like Augusta National.
No. That's right.
Solid fairway.
That's right. See, Jan, traditionally, if you think about the old golf courses, you know, all over the country that really didn't develop themselves because they were residential community properties, you know, they were just a golf course with a golf, you know, membership, and then basically all the housing that happened was always on the perimeter, you know, as peripheral housing. So they were contained in 120 to 40 acres. And most of them were fairly dangerous if you looked at them, you know, from a liability standpoint.
Yeah, heavy play.
Yeah, they were just very internal, back and forth and stuff like that. But they did have 100 to 110 acres of turf
That's right.
that they were maintaining. Well, you know, even if the water's free, there's still a cost related to pumping it. And the more you have, the more you have to cut. So we seem to do well out there in the desert, right around 70 acres. Everybody seems to play okay out there until they leave the formality of the turf, right, Alan? But here, if you leave the formality of the turf, you're just going into a natural, you know, a natural grassed area that you would cut down, you know, maybe once every 2 weeks to a 3 or 4 inch height where you could always still find your ball and you're back in the game. Unlike the desert, you know, it's just big plants and you're unplayable and it's, you know, it's really too difficult.
I play better in that.
How you call it?
Yeah.
Plan?
Yes.
I found out some regulations today on the lake. We can't take any water out of the lake, but we can put water in the lake as long as it's filtered properly.
Okay, well, that doesn't,
And that's pretty, I mean, that's pretty black and white.
That's typical.
yeah. What we'll rather do is take our runoff and put it back into our interior lakes built on the property. That way we can re-irrigate with it. We don't have to worry if it's got a little bit more fertilization or a little bit of pesticides or something like that in it.
Okay.
We don't have to have it monitored. That way, a lot of times they'll let you use that water. I guess the water source is through wells. Okay.
Yeah, and Jack indicated, I think to Tom, that there's just an overabundance of water on this property.
I'm just gonna say, are there any wells that have been drilled?
Well, there's a well down at the house, but
How many
Tom in that area.
gallons per minute? Is there any knowledge as to what that?
No, I have no idea. But Jack said that he felt like that we'd only have to go about 300 to 400 feet to get all the water we want.
Really?
Now, we get water about 100 feet, but he said there's a lot of water on that property.
Right.
I would imagine, Alan, that if we searched around in the area and found your local well driller that knows the history of that surrounding community and
The
soil
local
type.
witcher?
Pardon me?
The local witcher?
The local witcher, peach branch witcher. He'd be able to give you an indication of gallons per minute at whatever depth and whatever each well. I mean, those guys keep logs and records, and they may have drilled one right next door and hit one.
Well, they drilled one right across Highway 54 there, Lake Valley.
They can tell us what we're looking for in gallons per minute, but you know, in grow-in, if it's happening to be maybe a normal, but maybe a little bit of a hot summer, you may end up with 1 million gallons a day during grow-in, that's your highest consumption. Grow-in always is, because you're having to really put the water to it after it's established, you're in the maintenance of